everybody, Jen here. Just wanted to add a quick blurb at the beginning of this episode because after I was editing it, I realized that even though I'd put a little post-it note to myself not to forget, we managed to completely forget to talk about the Olympic ceremonies at all, which is awful. So, for the quote-unquote 2020 Tokyo Olympics, there was a lot of Takarazuka participation, both OGs, currents, and ancillary. And I'd really, since we didn't get a chance to talk about it as a group, love to hear what you, the listeners, thought about all of the performances. So in the opening ceremony, of course, there was Maya Miki, who was like the lead carpenter out of the group of carpenters in the dance. And in the closing ceremony, we had many current Takarazuka who sang Japan's national anthem, Kimi ga Yo, while the flag was being raised. And then, of course, Okamoto Tomotaka, who many of us got to see in New York City because he played Mary Sunshine during the Chicago version with all the OGs. He sang the Olympic anthem and was marvelous. So yeah, what did you think of all that? Please let us know, and I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to talk about it. Hello, and welcome to the Takarazuka Review Fan Podcast, where fans from around the world get together to talk about Takarazuka. And today on the show, we have Jen in New York,
Julie in Arizona,
and Kate in Durham, UK. It's a bit weird.
Woohoo! And it's been like 6 months since we got everybody together to record, so
Yikes.
This is exciting. We have a ton of news to talk about today, but before we jump into all the news that's fit to print, or maybe not fit to print, let's talk about our happy things. So, my happy thing is a little weird because I woke up this morning, it's August 15th in the US on the East Coast, and I was going through my Twitter stream in bed, and like, it's a very bizarro world because half of it was like posts from journalists about the fall of Kabul in Afghanistan, which is like awful, and then half of it was Moon Troop OGs talking about Senshuraku. But I was really happy to see the Senshuraku post because it's super nostalgic. A lot of OGs from like the time period I was like really active in fandom in Japan, like in the middle to late 2000s. So like Morie, Aoki Izumi was there, and so we posted a picture of her. So it's just like, oh.
and the picture that you
cool.
retweeted was her and Aihoshi Rion, right?
Mm-hmm,
So cute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll put a link in the show notes so everybody can see it, and if I can find some of the other ones so you can see who I'm talking about. But yeah, how about you, Julie? What was your happy thing?
Well, I actually watched the stream last night. Totally like last minute. I was like doing a stream for some friends, and like it was like coming up on 8 o'clock, and I was like, you know, I'm like having like a good Zuka high right now. Maybe I'll just buy a ticket for the stream tonight. Totally having not watched the Takarazuka last day, and totally like honestly not having a lot of an idea what Oranki was about. I was just like purchase, and like I stayed up and chatted with people and watched it, and honestly like a lot better than I expected in the play half. And the review was like a pretty standard review, but like, you know, like Taidon is really nice actually. And I know, Jen, you know that too, that like, it's a celebration. Yeah. Like you can be sad, but also there's a lot of happy things about Taidon.
Yeah.
And it's just a celebration.
Yeah, and I'm really
fun.
glad now that the classmates can come to like, because that's a lot of the pictures and things on Twitter where them coming to like help backstage on the last day of like their classmates and things. Like it has a lot of meaning and significance, and I'm sure during the high points of COVID, when everything was closed, they probably weren't allowing people backstage.
Yeah, it's really rough.
No, I have not been following things at all. Are they still spacing out the audience? Could you tell from the live stream?
They sure are not.
Okay, so but I noticed something when I was going on the website the other day that I didn't. They're like encouraging people not to talk to anybody when you're in the theater.
Yes.
As an audience member, and I'm like, that's so sad.
That
like,
is still a thing.
Like,
a friend of mine who I've reconnected with, who is a Makaze fan, was like, I'm glad that Takarazuka is still going, but it's sort of like sucks at the same time because like all of those fan activities you can't do anymore. There's no Iridenmachi, there's no Ochakais. You just like humbly, sheepishly go to the theater totally quietly. Don't talk to anyone the entire time. Don't cheer or anything. Don't sing along, and then just like rush home again. And that's really rough. Like it's like I was not to like take it into sad stuff immediately, but like like I was going to go to Japan for Anastasia, and that dream was crushed. But also, like, thinking about, like, wanting to go back maybe next year if it happens. I don't even know what it's going to be like if fan activities are still canceled, because it's such a big part of fandom.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's...
Or even if you're not in a fan club, like, watching Iridenmachi and Iridenmachi is
I
so
think
much
it's
fun.
really, really bittersweet for Yukigumi, Hanagumi, Tsukigumi to be having these retirements and to not be able to do like the full goodbye parade type stuff that you would expect.
Yeah. But on the other hand, like, I mean, Broadway is finally reopening now. Like, it's been forever since like we've had live theater in the US, so it is kind of amazing that despite closing temporarily, they've been open for so long. Yeah.
Anyway, sidetracked.
Anyway.
Kate, tell us about your happy thing.
Before we get any deeper in this, because we are going to talk about these. Kate, how about you? What's your happy thing?
So my happy thing is also kind of bittersweet, as most news relating to Takarazuka recently. Well, not recently. So basically, I watched Fortissimo for the first time yesterday. And because I've been too scared to watch it, basically, because it really is. I love Daimon, I love Kiho from the bottom of my heart. And like knowing that they didn't have a proper Taidan just absolutely broke my heart. And so I haven't been able to watch it. But I watched it today because I feel like I've been out of the loop with Takarazuka for a long while. And I don't feel as sad about it. And I don't know, that became my happy thing because it was amazing. And it's just really good to know that even if it wasn't the treatment or like the Taidan that we wished they would have, it was still pretty good. And you know, like I'm glad that they've gone through it. I'm glad that they've Taidan because like they can now move on to the next part of their career and stuff. And yeah, overall Fortissimo was just really good. Yeah.
Now, that was the one where she was the
Beethoven.
Yeah, Beethoven and the mystery woman.
Right. Oh, really?
Yeah, it was.
That's
I'm not going to spoil anything, but like it's really good. It is a bit niche. Like I feel like my friend who was a classical music buff enjoyed it more than I did, which is weird because that you don't tend to get, like Takarazuka doesn't tend to do that to people. But yeah, no, it was like really good, and it had like some existential elements. It had history. It had oh boy,
it was maybe a little too artsy for me. But I respected.
Same, it was a bit too artsy for me. But my like history buff friend was like, "Oh, this is amazing! Look how they did this bit, and look how they relate to that bit." And I was like, "Okay, this all just flew over my head, but I'm glad you're enjoying it."
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. I was going to pick your brains about this more later, but you know what? While we're on the topic, how was Silk Road? Because wasn't that the one where they had a whole bunch of like outsider composers come in to do shows and stuff?
So the main theme of Silk Road is I had that thing on loop for like 3 days straight, and I just could not think about anything else. It's so good. It is so good. They also had a bit where the top Musumeyaku Kiho was like she sang a rendition of God, what is it called? The furry song. It's not the furry song. You know, okay, never mind.
I don't know the song. I obviously know what scene you're talking about, but I'm totally like so disconnected from like pop music.
Same. I had to ask
in like Japan and Korea. I don't know.
But apparently it's Lone Trigger. Is that what it's called?
I don't.
Anyway, anyway, never mind. Basically, she was amazing. They were both amazing. Everyone was amazing. I freaking miss Ayanagi show now because oh my god.
And I felt like it was really cool because it's the kind of review where, like, you know, a lot of reviews have those people who are sort of like appearing between scenes to help you move through the review. And in Silk Road, those people were the Taidansha. It was Sho and Kari-chan and like all those other people. And so I thought it was like a really good way to like give them a lot to do.
Yeah.
And I felt that was really respectful of like that it wasn't just a tie-down for Daikihyo.
Yes.
It was like the rest of them as well.
Yes.
Yeah. See, and this is what I love about Takarazuka. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, people could, you know, it comes to different degrees of how much they do it, depending on, you know, the director or the playwright. But yeah, that special feeling of a show being written just for that troupe is something I don't think you get very
The other
much
thing about
in
Silk
other...
Road is it very much felt like, I'm going to do something different with a review. Like, I'm not going to follow the format. Ikuta Sensei really did something almost like Shatamae, you know, like just really gorgeous and like different. I love her stuff. And I have not appreciated hard and strong enough the Shatamae, but she's incredible. And obviously it's not the same, because Ikuta Sensei is his own person, but like it really was just like, I'm gonna do something different, and it was beautiful and flowy and like I thought it was really great. The music was really great. And like different from just your standard opening number, a few numbers, and then Choose-me, and then it just it
felt coherent. I think that's the main thing.
Oh, absolutely.
It felt very
like
coherent, and
it had a good through line. It had a good like sense of style because it was all literally cultures along the Silk Road, and they just followed it from whatever, like the Middle East to China. It was really freaking cool, and that was like a conscious choice that was made. It wasn't like, I hate to like pick on the reviews that are called something jazz, but like a lot of these reviews, or like even Rock On, right? Rock On was like, we have a rock opening number, and then literally the rest of the review had nothing to do with Rock On. So like,
oh no,
you know, I love Mizu, but like that's not, she didn't write the review, so
Well, I remember looking at the staff for that review, and Momoka Sari was one of the choreographers.
It's been cool to see her.
Who used to be in Star Troops, so it's been cool to see her. Like, I've seen her name popping up a lot more lately, which is
and
cool.
I've seen her actually in like Sky Stage footage and stuff, doing like choreography with people. It's pretty cool.
Oh, cool! Yeah, because she retired a while ago, didn't she?
Fair few years ago, yeah.
Yeah, she retired in 2010, so it's been 11 years. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. Pretty cool.
Yikes.
All right, this actually, you know, I'm just like poking around on the Takawiki as we often do. And I remember this was one of the shows when they split the cast. Right? The underclassmen.
Yeah, they stopped doing that
they were trying to keep fewer. Right. So I think that's a good segue into the news, because what's changed since February? I think
a lot.
One of the things is they finally phased that out. We've got full groups of actresses. We've got Shinjin Koen back, which is amazing.
Not coming back. They are back.
Yeah.
I feel like it was only last year that they were like, we're taking out like every other seat from the rotation or whatever you call it, the ticket sales. Everyone has to be like a space part or whatever. I feel like honestly they only did that until like December. Because I think Anastasia Tokyo Run and Romy Judy, all the seats were filled.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's about the same time that they announced that Shinkos were coming back that they also did they're not splitting the underclassmen again. Everyone will appear in the show again.
That's good.
And they're doing national tours again, which, you know, like a few national tours. A few national tours were just like relegated to Umeda Arts Theater and stuff so that they wouldn't be a tour.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Actually, let's start with March, because I'm looking at the news page and I've completely forgotten about this. And you guys might know a little bit more about this because you've been a little bit more in touch with the Japanese fandom and stuff. Do you know what that was about?
Right, I was looking at that.
On the official website, right? There was a request and kind of a warning to fans telling them to refrain from slandering the actresses on the internet and on social media, and that they might take legal actions against offenders, which they've never gone that far before that I remember. So was there some kind of kerfuffle going on in early spring? Because
I don't know if there was a specific thing, for sure. I think maybe there was a slow buildup of people being negative and toxic on social media. This is truly just me making a guess, but I feel like maybe there's been a lot of hatred towards Hanayuki, but then at the same time, perhaps when Hanayuki's retirement was announced, then some people sort of were like, wow, they should have given her a better chance, and then I don't know if people have been hating on Madoka, but I just sort of have heard that some people are really negative about Musumeyaku, which breaks my freaking heart because I love Musumeyaku. But also just some people are just go way too far with their criticisms, and they don't just say things like, oh, I didn't like so-and-so in such and such performance. They say things like, that person should die. And that's really messed up. I just don't understand why anybody would go that hard. If you're going that hard, you should leave fandom.
Yeah. It's people don't think of them as human beings.
That's really sad, because literally the whole fandom is about human beings.
Yeah.
And I'll pick up that point on Musumeyaku as well. They get so much hate for either being too not good at singing, being too good at singing, being quote unquote not pretty enough, being pretty.
Too good at singing. Oh my god, I'm I can't. I was talking about it with a friend the other day, and I was just like, okay, no more of this conversation because it's gonna upset me too much, because it just why? But
it does. It breaks your heart.
There's some deep-seated desire for fans that they need the Musumeyaku to be a formless shell to be their self-insert, and that's really
not
sad
the
and
point
gross.
Of
No,
it's never been self-insert. It is very
I totally repudiate that kind of behavior. I love Musumeyaku more than Otakoyaku a lot of the time. I'm sure, Jen, you know that. And
a lot of the time they're otakai are more fun than Otakoyaku otakai. And they're just so sweet, or they're really
or they
spicy,
surprise
and you're
I
didn't realize
they
had this kind
you
of
that they're
personality.
really otokomae or whatever, kind of more strong personalities off stage than what they present. And so Musumeyaku bring a level of art of high femininity that raises the game of the otakoyaku and helps them be better otakoyaku. And if you don't love both sides of that, I'm sorry you're not enjoying Takarazuka fully.
It's kind of that. What was that saying about Ginger Rogers? She did everything Fred Astaire did, but backwards in her heels.
Yeah, girl.
That's
literally Musumeyaku. 100%. That's a very accurate way to describe what they do.
Yeah. Love for Musumeyaku. Heart, 100%. Heart.
Absolutely.
Then what else happened in March? Oh, the 107th class graduated, and we've kind of followed them, and they're in their new troops now, which is...
Yeah, not to, continuously bring up negative things, but a lot of 107ths had accidents and were out due to injury during the Hatsubutai. An unusually high amount, 5 or 6. And one of them, in fact, did not appear in the Hatsubutai and retired without ever stepping on the Takarazuka stage, which is freaking
breaks my heart.
Heartbreaking. And so I'm a little bit mad at whoever choreograph
choreographed
that
line
Hatsubutai.
dance? Yeah.
It's probably in a news article, but I don't have it in front of me at the moment. I'm a little bit mad at whoever that person is because clearly these kids were worked too hard, and that also breaks my heart.
And I'm sure, like, just the stress factors of what's going on outside probably made it harder for them too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but so have you picked any favorites? I know you usually pick one or two Musume-yaku.
You know,
she's cute.
Try real hard to be like, I'm gonna wait until they're transferred into Soragumi, and then I'll like decide some kids that I like.
You don't want to fall for them too soon.
I successfully did not watch a lot of stuff with the Hatsubutai Sei. I haven't watched the Bunkasai or anything. By the way, for people who don't know, the Bunkasai is like a little culture festival. Like, it's their year-end recital. It's like graduation is in the spring from the 2 years of music school, and they do a class recital where they have singing, classical dance, modern dance, an acting portion. You know,
usually
they
a little musical.
Mm-hmm, they have a whole recital where they show off everything that they've learned, and like you can certainly, if you have like Sky Stage access, watch that and get a sense of like who was the top of their class, who's like really good at singing, who was a standout dancer. But I held myself back. Sumi no Tsumugi. Ugh, it's such a hard name to say. So it's like not a very like sexy, cutesy name, Sumi no Tsumugi, but she's really cute. You know, I sort of like it when they look sort of awkward. And when it comes to Musume-yaku, I love tall ones, short ones, almost all ones. So there's a lot of tall Musume-yaku in Soragumi that I'm kind of like intrigued by, because obviously Soragumi is sort of has a reputation of being the tall troupe. So instead of having a bunch of short Musume-yaku, we got some relatively tall ones.
I was surprised there's quite a few more Musume-yaku than Otoka-yaku this year, which it seems has not been the pattern for the last few years, so that's kind of cool.
That's definitely exciting. One of my favorite things in the world are Musume-yaku who are quote-unquote too tall and still gun hard for being Musume-yaku, like Urara, Reimi Urara, who was just so tall and was still a fantastic Musume-yaku.
Do you follow the Hatsubutai at all?
Not really. I don't want to get...
It's kind of hard to do when you're far away, but I think, like, when you live in Japan, it becomes a habit. Like, especially, Julie, when you were living kind of near, or you were near enough that you were going pretty often, you went for the days when they were doing the flower selling and stuff like that.
And that presumably has also been canceled. I haven't even seen announcements about that due to COVID. It would make no sense for them to be doing that right now.
Sure.
But yeah, they have a little flower selling event where I guess a friend told me that they don't even hand out fake flowers anymore. There's just like I don't know what they do. If they just raise money and don't give you anything back. Not that I need something back. The point, of course, is to like help them raise money and like go see them and like take pictures of their cute faces and all that stuff. But like it does seem like kind of a bummer that they don't even give away fake flowers anymore. Someone who has been in Japan and has been to one, I don't know, like in 2019 before the pandemic, can maybe tell us what they do nowadays.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear. And this is actually, I should correct myself, because this isn't the Hatsubutai. This is the student, when they're still students.
Yeah, we're doing a little bit inside baseball, like really, really far down the rabbit hole of like, so for example, the 96th class was the one where I got to see both their 2008 Violet Selling event when they had just entered the music school, and their 2009 Violet Selling event, and then 2010 they debut. So it's like it's when they're still in school that they do that. But the Hatsubutai itself was pretty cool. I have seen Delicia a ridiculous number of times, and they are all like on a cake, like cake toppers, and it's really cute. And it's they have little big. They have big like pom-pom things on their bums. I don't know if they're supposed to look like cherries or something, but like I'm sure there's like a They usually do like a promotional picture of the
I saw
that
those.
they've designed.
The ice cream cone shines just cracks me up.
Listen,
it's so good.
Listen, if you let me, I will talk for this entire time about Delicia because it's perfect from beginning to end. But we don't have to.
We should have a separate episode.
Yeah, let's save. Yeah, let's save the shows because I'm sure it would be fun to talk about those.
Totally.
I do want to hear about them though because I haven't been paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, then they announced Shinjin Koen were coming back, which is like, thank God. And they actually had some students who are technically, I think, Ken 8s.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of slipped them in to the Shinjin Koen
Yeah,
that they
so it was
could
an
because
interesting
some of them
choice.
missed out a little bit.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice because, of course, that means that there's 2 graduated classes, both the 100th and the 101st were graduating from Shinko's. So it's like, when they first made the announcement, I was like, oh, so they're like trying to give some 100th class kids a chance. You know, like Komu got that like last ditch special appearance Shinko thing. I thought it was going to be like that, and then not actually maybe any 100th class kids got the lead in the Shinko, so I was like, so what was the point then? You know, kind of weird.
I guess warming them back up, they just missed out on chances to play big roles.
It's
maybe.
Definitely like, sorry, I don't want to just like talk about all my fan experiences all day, but like when I was supporting Hanakage Arisu back in the day, and she did her last year of Shinko's, and they were the Chonoki, like the top year of people in Shinko's Ken 7. It was a really good experience for her because it prepared her to become an upperclassman and to become a mentor to the younger kids. It was very meaningful to her. So, like, I definitely understand that, like, it's very meaningful to the 100th class kids to get to do that again, even if they weren't the leads. That is very true.
Right. And I think, you know, even sometimes when you have really, really young top Musumeyaku stars, I don't know if they do it so much anymore, but I think like 10-15 years ago they were still doing it. Even if they were top stars, if it was still in their Shinko years, sometimes they'd have like
they still
mini
appear
parts
in the
Shinkos.
Yep.
Yeah, which is sweet because you want to have that experience with your classmates.
That's very true.
It would be sad to miss out on it.
Yeah, because then otherwise, like, if you're not even going to rehearsals, then you're like missing out on all that time just helping your classmates. Even if you yourself are the top Musumeyaku and don't have a big part, you can be there to help your, I was going to say siblings, classmates.
Oh, pretty much.
It does feel like it, doesn't it?
Kind of does.
Let's talk about like I feel like everything was big news, but I think the biggest news maybe in March, like, took my breath away. I think I saw you post something about it, Julie. Todoroki Yu announced her retirement, which is like,
bizarre,
what the hell?
Bizarre, like a national institution.
Yeah, I thought she was going to be there forever.
So did I. Like, heck, Matsumoto Sensei retiring last year was a just blow.
Yeah, and maybe that was it. Maybe they changed their policy.
Maybe.
Yeah. I don't know if we're going to have anybody else, like, stick with it till the very end of their lives.
I've definitely had some, like, theorizing conversations with other fan friends about, like, what might be going on behind the scenes that is, like, causing them to make this decisions. Is it all just down to money? Like, her paycheck?
Well, she's got a lot of money, right? Doesn't her dad run some
I don't know.
Journalism?
I don't know about that.
Like, that was... But, actually, you know what I want to ask Kate, because she's somewhat newer to the fandom, and so you weren't there when Todoroki Yu was, like...
No.
Omnipresent
I was
everywhere.
about to say,
so, like, what's your impression of her?
So, from my personal experience, like, Todoroki has just been there forever, like, sitting... because I only joined the fandom in, like, oh god, it was late 2017. So
that's when I came back to fandom.
So for me, it's just you know, she's probably there when Takarazuka first started. Of course, I knew that wasn't true, but like, it's very odd not having a kind of a top of the sixth troop, and I don't know. It's odd. It almost felt like. Because it was also happening during COVID, it just kind of felt like, oh, Takarazuka is not going to be the same after COVID. because
Mhm.
everything is changing, and the fact that like
That's-
people come and go, but Todoroki, she never leaves. She's not supposed
Literally,
to leave.
Right.
Like not to jump ahead, but like things are really changing based
Mm.
on some really recent announcements of like
Right.
transfers and
Yeah.
who's
Mm.
doing what and what troop.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tom, I mean, and the craziest part is that she's not retiring in a grand theater. She's
Right.
not even
She's not even retiring in a small theater
Not
show.
even-
She's retiring
Yes.
in a dinner show.
Yes, she did. The small theater is over now. With
Yeah.
kind of very little pomp and circumstance.
Mm.
And
Yeah. she said she didn't want like
Mhm.
a after show,
mhm.
like a farewell sayonara show, which is like
Why would you do one in
Crazy.
Bao Hall anyway? That would be weird.
they used to. They used to.
Did not know that.
They actually, when they started doing them, they did them in the Bao Hall in the 70s and early 80s before they started doing them in the Grand Theater.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and like just from my experience again, because I don't know as much about like all of the structure of Takarazuka, but when I kind of
Uh-huh.
theorize with my friends, even back in like 2017, about haha, can you imagine if Tom one day graduated? And it was always, we would always imagine it as some kind of massive, just absolutely grand show with like a
Yeah.
massive revenue, where maybe even some of the other top stars from the other troops would make an appearance to kind of, you know, say goodbye to the top of
Right?
the tops and all of that.
That's a
And it just
very
kind
good
of happened.
point.
It just
COVID,
happened.
Yeah.
if COVID were not a factor,
Hmm.
I wonder if like they could have done a whole like Grand Theater extravaganza, bring a
Right.
bunch of OGs
Yeah.
back, like do all this stuff.
Yeah.
So the one thing
Yeah.
that they did do is Tom did Tetra Voice, which was
Right.
before it had been announced. And then when you like, I've only seen parts of Tetra Voice, but like then you're like, oh, she brought back all her classmates to like have a good old time together,
Right.
and they all knew she was retiring, and she knew she was retiring, but they
Right.
hadn't announced it yet.
Because for those of you who are like newer fans, her class, the 71st class that debuted in 1985, at one point they almost had
4
a
out
top
of 5
star in
tops.
every troop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, were from that class. So
It's pretty impressive.
I think it's funny because when I first really became part of the fandom, it was only a couple years after she had left
Same.
Snow Troop. And so for a couple years on April Fool's Day, I would keep telling people that she was getting called back to a different troop to become top star. And I actually caught a lot of people
Ruthless.
with that same joke like,
Ah,
every year.
that's brutal. That's
But
really funny.
yeah, so it's just funny to think of her. And then she went through that period where she was kind of like taking over as top star of
Mhm.
different troops
Mm.
in their
It's
different
funny.
productions.
It's
which,
funny too because I thought
yeah.
those days were over, but if you look at the facts of her entire career, it slowed
Yeah.
down, but she didn't stop doing it. She had one with Chia, and then she had the one with Daimon, and that was
Yeah.
only a few years ago.
Right? That
Yeah.
was,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which I still haven't watched. I
I'm
would like to watch
Oh, it's
that.
pretty good.
I'm glad
I
she
believe
got
you.
to. You know what? And we probably should have known. Like she said in all the articles of like talking to her about why she decided to retire, said she just spontaneously decided last year. But now that I remember that they did Arch of Triumph 3 years ago,
Right?
I
It
wonder
seems a little
if
bit like
doing
hold up.
that.
That was like a big
Either they
goodbye.
did that for her, or she did that and she was like, you know what?
Now
I
I'm
think
done.
I'm ready to retire. Yeah. It makes me curious.
For anyone who doesn't know, Arch of Triumph was like a huge deal. Like it won awards. Like it was like
Oh,
a
was
really
it?
really good
Ah.
story.
Yeah.
When it was
And she
originally
did that-
done in 2000.
Hmm.
2000. Yeah. So, man, it's gonna be weird not
That's
having her
gorgeous.
around.
That's the thing is
Yeah.
that there's just gonna be like a hole there. It's weird.
And can you imagine the TCAs at the end of the year? Who's gonna be the host? Like,
Katja.
who-
Now,
Well,
let me
and I've
give a caveat.
It's
Katja's
like-
I don't think is anyone's gonna like be the next top of Senka.
Mm-mm.
I don't think that's a thing that's gonna happen.
no,
but-
no.
Katja, if we want to like dip a little bit into transfer announcements, Katja's there. Rinkira's gonna be there. Shimon's gonna be there. Mayupon's gonna be there. So actually, they do
Mm.
have some like new blood in Senka.
Yeah, but it's strange because Senka has always been like the,
Mm-hmm.
well, at least for me, and I know that wasn't true always because they have had every decade or so they get an influx of new blood.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, they've always had those older women, you know? And it's like, Kasuga no Yachio died, Matsumoto Sensei retired, and now Todoroki Yu's retiring. I'm like, we don't really have any, like, uber Senka members left.
I agree. It really felt, I mean, even more than Tom, it felt like Matsumoto Sensei leaving was like the loss of a national treasure. And like absolutely,
or Kasugano Sensei dying.
That too, absolutely good for her for just, you know, calling it.
Yeah.
If that's what she wanted, and if she didn't want to appear in performances anymore, she wanted to just like go to Hawaii and sleep. You know what I mean? Take a freaking rest.
Yeah.
If that's what she wanted, that's really awesome. But I agree with you. When you look at like the list of people in Senka, you're like, who is like the big legend there anymore? I don't know if there's someone who like feels truly legendary as much as I love all of them.
Yeah.
On the bright side, as at least Miho Keiko is still there. I freaking love her.
1,000%. You know what's funny is like some of my friends, we made like a bingo card of like things we wanted to happen. This has been going like a joke that's been going for like 6 months because the origination of the bingo was like waiting for Tsukigami top announcements because it was taking for freaking ever. So we made these bingo cards of like things that we thought might happen, and some of it was joking, like, you know, things that you never would expect to happen. But I sort of seriously tried to make a bingo card, and one of the things that I put was like, Miho Keiko comes to Soragumi. Itsumine Aki comes to Soragumi. I love them. And one of the things that, because I made my bingo card after Mayupon and Shimon had been announced to be moving to Senka, I put it on my bingo card, Mayupon or Shimon comes to Soragumi, and Mayupon's coming to Soragumi.
Congrats.
Yay. Yes.
So, since you mentioned new top stars in Moon Troop, let's move into April, because that was exciting news.
Heck, yeah.
Tsukishiro Kanato and Umino Mitsuki. What did you think?
Congrats. It's like literally the only time recently where I've been like, the pairing was right in front of them, and Hankyu, instead of pulling any shenanigans, literally just put the people in the positions. Right. And I was like, heck yeah.
What did you think, Kate?
Oh,
do you follow Moon Troop at all, or were you just kind of
like Reiko, so kind of? But yeah, exactly. It's just one of the first times when they, you know, announced the top Musume Yaku, and I'm like, oh, I've seen her stuff. I know who she is.
Oh, literally, like the last two Reiko leads have had Umi as her partner. So it's like actually so unusual these days to have people who had a bunch of leads before together to just become top combi together. It used to, like, I back when I was young and innocent, and I like expected that to happen, and then it didn't happen. I was like heartbroken. So this was like a really nice surprise.
Yeah, it's like, hey, Hankyu finally did the thing that makes sense. What?
What?
And I was so happy because I'd almost given up on Umino Mitsuki making top star when they kind of went over her, you know? So I was like...
Especially when she started playing the moms, and I was just like, oh, no.
But yeah, so it seems clear that they were holding her in the wings for Reiko. Which is pretty cool.
Nice. So then, suddenly, end of April, state of emergency was announced, and all the performances got suspended, like, for the last week of April, first week of May, which was really sad. But they still had live streams. And then, Julie, you were talking about, I know you saw a bunch of these. Like,
I actually,
how sad was that?
Thinking back on it, I saw Romeo and Juliet with no audience. I saw Hotel Svitzer House. Yume Chidori, Kazuki Sora's Bow Hall, was actually a pre-recorded, no-audience performance. It wasn't live, they just aired it like a live stream. So I saw at least 3 no-audience performances, and Romeo and Juliet was the one I saw first, and it was just a huge kick to the chest. Like, I can't even describe the feeling of watching every scene, and for when the song ends there's just dead silence because there was no audience. It was
that's just breaks
awful.
Your heart.
It just hurt it felt so bad.
And that was a show that got, like, canceled from, like, 2020, right? And then, like, rescheduled, and it finally started playing. And, like, I feel so bad for them. That show was just raked through the coals.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And it sucked for sure. And I mean, Svitra House, literally the, like, big number towards the end of the show is about how important the stage is and how important theater is in people's lives. So it was like, Keiko, why are you doing this to me? Ueda Sensei, why? Because it was so painful to see them. I mean, they did it, you know, they brought 110%, knowing that there was an audience on the other side of the screen, but, like, it still really hurt for them to be like, the theater's so amazing, and it's like an empty audience.
That's interesting. Like, I don't really know much about the plot of that show, but when we did a show about Ueda Keiko and, like, themes in her shows, that seems to fit right into
it's
what
so
we're
funny.
talking about.
It's so funny because I wasn't on that one, and then I listened to it after I had watched Svitzer House, and I was like, dude, this is, like, exactly Ueda Keiko Sensei's MO. Like, every song has weird English, like, buzzwords in it, like literally 12 years ago, Paradise Prince is exactly the same, where it's like every song ends with like a how did it go? Dance is my life, or like in Paradise Prince it was like believe in yourself, and like there's always some like English phrase. But again, to like bring the mood down for a second, Keiko Sensei made a really not well advised choice, and that was to bring in a side plot where Jun Hana's character has a friend who is dating a Nazi. And he is like a low-level officer, and I was like, oh, Jun's character is like horrified that her friend is dating a Nazi. And then it turned out that the thing that she was actually upset about was that, like, they were like doing this gray morality thing of like, oh, but they're just ordinary people, they're just following orders, like, and it was bad. Like, it was not the right choice, especially like super rich for Japan to be like, oh, gray morality, like as if they didn't also commit tons of war crimes.
Right.
So it was a bad choice, and I think it kind of soured the whole story for a lot of people. And it's really interesting because like the story does touch upon like people like secretly sneaking Jews out of Europe and like some interesting things, but it sort of did sour everything that they were trying to sympathize with Nazis. And I think a lot of Western
make excuses.
Western people were like, no, I'm not down with that. Yeah.
And it seems like Japan's, and Takarazuka in particular, they've had a lot over the years of like
questionable
Nazi
choices,
characters who are not necessarily the villains, which is
a whole choice. Didn't they do like a whole play that was about the Nazi youth or something like that?
The what?
Recently or back
no,
during
like
the war?
mid-90s or something. I mean, mid-2000s. What is the one I'm thinking of?
Are you thinking about Winter Garden?
Yes. What's that one about?
You know what? I did a review of it and I watched it like 20 years ago.
You're like,
I
can't remember what it's about. Hitler Youth.
Yeah,
isn't that what they called them?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember. I'll have to...
It's all right.
Yeah. I remember actually kind of liking that show as like a good showcase for the actresses who are in it, but I remember being like, plot-wise, this is
questionable.
Questionable.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'll have to look it up again. I don't think it was peon to the Hitler's Youth. I think it had more moral
something about that. Something else.
Questions in it than that.
Fair enough.
But, yes, audience, we'll have to look that up and I will report back in the show notes.
Yeah, and to just wrap it up on Svitzer House, like I said, a lot of it was really interesting because Keiko put like a lot of her ballet fangirl stuff into it. Like the way that they build the show was like a love letter to the Ballet Russe, and like Makaze and Jun's whole romance was like about their bonding over the love of ballet and theater and stuff. But it was just soured by this like one plot point that honestly, Keiko just fully made a mistake there. And like, it could have literally just been, I am sad because my friend was dating a Nazi. And that's all you had to say. But the fact that they tried to take it into a gray morality area just like ruined it. And they just didn't have to do that. It was a total like side part of the plot. It's a totally original story. They could have just not done that.
Now, did either of you guys see Augustus? I feel like
I have.
You said that you saw.
I didn't.
Yeah. How was that?
Sorry, Kate, have you watched it, or am I the only one who's
No,
watched
you're
it?
the only one.
Okay, a very short I cannot speak right now. A very short Augustus review is I thought it was a little bit of a mess. I didn't think it was great for Hanayuki. I felt like it was better for Akira than it was for Hanayuki, and I kind of was mad about that. It had a very weird twist ending with Hanayuki's character that made me super mad. Yeah.
Takarazuka seems to be kind of obsessed with this like period of Roman history. Like they love doing shows about like Augustus and
Hachi-san as Caesar was really good. That part was fun. And like the I think Hitoko was Brutus, and like the, you know, assassination of Caesar and all that stuff was fun. But then it kind of like really veered into just
I forgot
fantasy
Nagina
history.
Rumi was Cleopatra.
I'll talk all day about Gotcha Cleopatra. You give me that show only. It was really good. That part was really good. She appeared in like a little bustier and like a miniskirt and sang this whole song about being a boss bitch, and it was pretty awesome. And that is my unfiltered opinion on Nagina Rumi. I love her a lot.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I think that brings us into May. Let's see. What happened in May?
Well, we haven't really talked about like the small theaters that were announced. Like Odachin, Kazuma Yuno got her first lead with Love and All That Jazz. Ai-chan had a lead, Manon, which just finished recently.
Right. Which is
a revival.
Yes. Which part of me is like, no, you cannot revive that show. That's
girl,
like Asako's
girl,
show.
You know how I'm feeling about Never Say Goodbye.
Oh boy. We'll get to that.
Yeah, but I'm glad because I think there's a whole generation of fans who never saw it.
So true.
It was a pretty smexy show. Even though it wasn't like a great plot-wise, I remember it being hot.
It's pretty much like dumb young people in love make a bunch of dumb, bad decisions, and then they get the consequences of those decisions.
I feel like we should have a category of those. That's just a category.
That's like a whole category. So true. So true. Yep.
Yes. So then...
And like I was saying before, some Senka transfer announcements had happened, like Kizuki Yuma, Shimon Yuria, Rinjo Kira. I'm forgetting one. Am I forgetting one? Anybody else going to Senka? It's okay. I have the transfers page open actually. Somewhere.
Actually, while you're thinking of that, there were a lot of like revivals.
Oh,
which is
there was the
normal
whole
for
weird thing
Takarazuka,
where like Madoka went to Senka and then Fake went to Senka and was actually being set up to be Hanagumi Tama's Mayaku. Anyway, what were you gonna say, Jen?
Which they've done before.
They have.
I was just gonna say there were a lot of revivals, which is kind of par for the course, actually, especially now that we've got tours coming back. But like Ginchan no Koi coming back, Sorrowful
actually
Cordoba
two non-sun shows because Descendant of Baron is also non.
Yep.
So yeah, that's interesting. I have opinions. Yes. I have thoughts.
And of course, Never Say Goodbye, which we'll get to. Yeah. So how are we doing on those Senka transfers? Did you find out?
Yeah, there weren't any more. The only other one was Madoka's fake transfer to Senka.
Right. Which they've done before.
Well, and also, Aoi-san, Mikaze Maira, was moved from the from Soragumi Fukukumicho to Hanagumi Fukukumicho. So she was the like vice troop leader of Cosmos, and now she's in Flower Troop. And you know, in my heart, I'm like, oh, she went with Madoka. Like she went to help Madoka.
Yeah.
That's my headcanon.
And then, sorry, I'm jumping all over the place, but I'm just like looking at the news page, and I'm like, June, we had a lot of like the poor physical health or injury people out from performances, which was some of that was, as you said, the
actual injuries, you know, because
Hatsubutaise, but yeah,
at least they always make a point of saying whether it's poor health or whether it's injury, but I mean, not to go into it too much, but I think sometimes poor health means poor mental health. Like if someone is like stressed out and maybe something's going on in their personal life like we don't know about, like, you know, so
or you know, it could be a COVID thing,
or it could be
them out for a week or
whatever. Who knows.
But then, and I'm skipping ahead a bit, but just to keep to the same theme, they announced that Emma Naoki was not going to be performing in City Hunter, and Natsumi Yo would be taking her role, which I was like,
pretty rough.
That was surprising.
We haven't seen that happen in a long time. That she's just fully out of the show. Right.
And it was announced way ahead of time. It wasn't like but
yeah, I guess it was almost a month ago, and City Hunter just started last weekend.
Right.
So it was at least 3 weeks in advance.
Right. I guess they wanted to give her enough time to
definitely
to rehearse and stuff, but yeah, word on the street is she's fine.
Okay.
So don't panic. But yeah, it's sad. I always like seeing Emma Naoki perform.
I love her. But I also love Hachi-san, so.
I do too. So very much.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't?
Yeah. So, best wishes and love to all of the actresses who I'm sure, like we said before, like, circumstances being what they are and stress factors being what they are, it's gotta be very hard to be performing right now.
I mean, you know, sort of like we were talking about at the beginning, that these are real human beings with real human lives that are outside of their, let's call it, like, day job of being stage performers.
Being dream makers.
They have family. They have family members. They have friends. Like, it could be someone's, like, a grandmother or something who's, like, dying. Like, we don't know what's going on in their personal life. So, like, I don't know. It really blows my mind that people can't just have compassion and think to themselves, oh, these are real people who, like, have real stuff going on outside of performing for my enjoyment.
Moral of the story, don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
PSA.
Then, I'm just kind of poking around looking at the shows in May. There were actually a lot of music salons and dinner shows.
Because
some
of
of
the
them
retirees.
got canceled / turned into just performances and not dinner shows. But did anybody hear about how any of those went?
No, I didn't watch the Hanagumi ones. Like I said, I've only seen part of Tetra Voice, which was earlier in the year. So I don't have an opinion on that.
Did you hear anything through the grapevine?
No,
Kate?
not really.
I'm like, I don't really know much about Hanayuki, so that wouldn't have been something I paid attention to. I am curious how Sato Kazuya's dinner show went, though. I was just curious, the man who was magic.
Oh, yeah.
Did you watch it?
Did you guys?
Kate,
No,
you're a
I did
Yukigami
not.
fan.
But I knew about it, and apparently
Did
it's really
either
good.
of you read it?
I did not read it, but I did watch it.
Ah. How is it?
It's based on an is it American author or British author?
I think it's an American author, but
yeah, it's actually based on an English novel.
Oh, English novel? Yeah, maybe it's not American.
English language.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, I don't know if
yeah. So I didn't read the book, but I get the feeling that it was maybe sort of like a kids / young adult book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here is my, like, very condensed breakdown of Man Who Is Magic. I feel like the title is The Man Who Is Magic, and the story was probably told through the eyes of the female main character, who is, like, very intrigued by this mysterious person who seems to have real magic.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
in the play, since one, the otokoyaku, the male character is the main character,
Mm-hmm.
and two, they have already told us that he is magic. There was like no mystery. There was no. It just kind of like things happened for 2 hours, and like it was fun, and there was like goofy, like very, sort of childish, silly, fun times, but like it just felt like, because
I think
we knew he was magic. He was magic the whole time, and like they didn't really explain it, but that made it like not fulfilling, basically.
I feel like I haven't read the novel either, but from what I was reading, because I was reading the reviews on Amazon and stuff when they announced the show, and it seems like it's almost like a parable.
Yeah, it's a very kind of feeling like story.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
A parable of what?
I don't know if it was so much like mystery of just like the fact that, like, I don't know the deeper levels, but just the fact that everybody was like, because isn't everybody like kind of like a sleight of hand type magician, and then this guy had actual real magic, and so I think it was kind of, some kind of parable,
maybe like a Christian parable of like, these are all the untrue religions, and this is Jesus figure of this is the one true religion.
I don't know if it's religion. I don't know why my brain so went much there, sorry. Is just
anyway. I think it was just really sweet, and so much like, people liked it because COVID.
It's funny and cute. It's sort of like
we need something
understudy. Understudy is literally just like tiny soragami babies do Shakespeare for 2 hours. Like, it's not a plot, basically. It's a very thinly veiled plot strung together to make them have the opportunity to do Shakespeare scenes.
To be on stage.
So yeah, like as a vehicle for like cute yukigimi maybe fun times, it's great.
Yes. Oh, that's right. They did the Emblem of Venetia again too, which was a national tour. We kind of talked. Oh, we didn't really talk about Sherlock Holmes. Did you guys want to touch on that at all? That was our Hatsubutai.
Yes.
Did not watch it, but June.
I don't want this to just be me talking the whole time.
You know what? Actually, let's save Sherlock Holmes because I think a lot of people really liked it, and we could do an episode on that.
Okay. My short review is Sherlock Holmes was okay. It was like an average Takarazuka show. Really, really good, like Kiki bad guy aesthetics, and Jun Hana was like very mysterious, charming, femme fatale kind of, at least for part of the show.
Nice.
But it wasn't anything special, I didn't think. And Delicia was the best review of 2021. So if we have focus, my focus is on Delicia because it was the best.
Actually, how is Jun Hana's chemistry with Makaze?
Spicy.
Good.
It is spicy. They decided that Madoka's cute face was not a face that they could allow to do sexy, spicy stuff, but they decided that now that Jun Hana stopped Musumiyaku, it's allowed apparently. So
because she is
I'm not trying to sound bitter, but Svitzer House has some spiciness, and so does Sherlock and Delicia.
Interesting.
Delicia is very spicy.
Yeah.
If you've heard.
As can tell from the way they removed one of the pictures.
They literally removed a picture from the news articles.
It is extremely funny. Also, that picture was
too
very
spicy. Shocking.
Oh my goodness.
Shocking. Unsumida.
So I was going to hold off, but let's do Never Say Goodbye announcement next, because I know we've all been champing at the bit to talk about it. I'm going to have Kate go first, because Julie, I know you've got stuff to say, but I want to give Kate a chance to... So what were you thinking?
So I don't have...
Kate? Have you seen the original?
I have heard, like, I've seen clips. I've not seen the entire thing, but I know how big that couple was Hanafusa and Woah Yoka. And, like, I know that that show was meant to be written for them, never to be done again, because it is literally their show. And, yeah, I was just not expecting that. Especially, like, with all that weird... it's not weirdness, but, you know, with the whole thing about Wildhorn haven't written that musical, and you know, Wow, and
then he marries her.
And Wow and Hamza being like such a closely knit combi, and like all of the drama, it just didn't. I just never thought they'd bring it back ever. Especially not like, you know, when they give a big show that's only been done once to someone new, it's always when like maybe the two top stars have something in common or like are related in some ways. Unless I'm missing something, but I don't feel like it's the case for this particular show. Like, well, sure, it's just sort of
in the sense that Makaze has the through line of Never Say Goodbye literally being her first show.
Oh, okay, so there is a thing. So I did miss something.
Show, Hatsubutai.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, still, I was not expecting that. Like,
yeah.
But I'm also really excited because I love every single show written by Wildhorn. Just freaking music, amazing. But yeah,
it's really good.
It is really good.
And that's what.
But it's such a goodbye vehicle. Like the title says, "Never Say Goodbye." Like I was kind of shocked that it looks like she's not actually going to retire with it. Julie, go ahead.
Don't say never. Never say never. My countdown app on my phone says that we've got 4 more days for 4 or 5 more days for Makaze to announce her retirement.
Wow.
That's.
Well, I've heard that it seems from insiders that they have been reassured that it will not be her retirement show.
What?
So,
that does not.
Can they really say that though? Like, is a star or a star's daihyo really allowed to say no? We promise the star isn't retiring. Like,
but like normally it turns out to be correct.
I agree, right? but usually when that kind of hearsay comes out. It's often true. So,
but like, how many layers is it filtered through? Do we know? You know, is it someone who's literally in the fan club and actually connected, or is it like I heard from a friend of a friend? So anyway, what was I going to say? It's just too mind-boggling to me that they would bring back Never Say Goodbye and not have it be her last show. And the only edge case that I can think of is everyone has changed their plans because of COVID. And if they had this in the works for Never Say Goodbye to be Makaze's last show, and then she changed her mind because COVID, like, what if there's still a lot of restrictions next year and they like can't do the full tied-on spiel? I would understand why Makaze would not want to retire in that show.
Right.
Absolutely unacceptable in my very selfish, very biased fangirl opinion. I just can't.
Yeah.
I just can't deal with the idea that they would do Never Say Goodbye and have it not be her sayonara show. That's just too mind-blowing.
Yeah. Oh, I agree, but this is Takarazuka. They live to surprise us. So.
No freaking kidding. And I mean, not... It totally just like me making stuff up, but I sort of felt like Delicia did sort of seem like a pre-tied-on review. A little bit. And maybe I was just like feeling that because I've been thinking about maybe Makaze will retire, and maybe I was just feeling that because there's a lot of upperclassmen who are leaving with Delicia. We don't know. We don't know. We've got, I don't know why I said 4 more days. I think there's 11 more days until Sherlock, Shonichi, in Tokyo. So we'll see what the next week, 10 days brings.
So speaking of retirements, there've been a lot that have been announced for the different troops, and I think partially because we didn't have so many retirements during
COVID
last year.
That is also something that occurred to me.
But it's a lot of upperclassmen. I know the Moon Troop actresses who just retired yesterday. It's kind of like an arrow to the heart because it's a lot of upperclassmen.
And it's exactly the same with the Soragumi Taidansha. It was a real blow to the chest. And I do think that like probably some of them might have been planning to retire during Anastasia and then didn't, because there were 0 retirements during Anastasia, which was like the only... maybe the only show since like the pandemic and shows started up again, the only show where there were literally no retirements. Well,
which kind of makes sense because who'd want to be like hunting out a new job?
Freaking sad. It sucks, and it sucks for the fans and like all of these things. So like I don't blame them, but at the same time, it was like just a bunch of torpedoes to the chest of all of these Hanagumi, Tsukigumi, so like every troop is just having these hard hitting upperclassmen retirements this year.
Yukigumi
too, and
right?
Hoshi. No, I won't. Not especially.
I started to list them, and then I realized I would just have to list every troop because I really think it's been every troop has.
It's fine. I'll cover you guys on the Hoshi and it's just like especially with Aizuki Hikaru, like it just came and went.
It's a good opportunity to segue into that, honestly, because she was like popping on social media during Romeo and Juliet, and like I was like, she's so good, she's like at the top of her game right now. Hoshigumi was not just such a good move. Like I thought things were going right for her, and then suddenly she was trying.
It wasn't just Takarazuka social media either, right? Didn't she trend in Japan?
Yeah, she was Twitter, like trending on Japanese Twitter. They made fun of her during Manon Shonichi, and maybe Senshuraku as well, because I think I've seen footage of Shonichi speeches, and then I watched the Raku stream, and they were like teasing her about it. So it's really sad.
Like
her being so popular on social media, basically. And the fact, of course, that Ai-chan no Shi, Ai-chan's death was the buzz line because of her character in Romeo and Juliet. And then, of course, in Manon, they die. So it's like Ai-chan no Shi again.
Oh.
LOL. Yeah.
But, I'm glad she had the opportunity that she did, that they transferred her back into a troupe, and then she got to be... I mean, she was basically nibante, right, for a time?
Yeah.
Which,
she there was no question she came down as nibante with the nibante feathers. And I have a lot of opinions about what the company seems to be doing with Akira, with Ai-chan, with Mia, Rurika, and the absolute destruction of nibantes as like a position that is a feeder into being top star. Especially with the calendar announcement just came out the other day, and I'm pretty upset about it. And what are they doing? I don't understand what they're doing.
It's just every single troupe is way too crowded with talented people, and
they're not crowded in the right places. They're not crowded at the top.
That is true.
That's what's so freaking confusing, because they're like, Chinatsu, Hozuki-an is going to be Reiko's nibante, and Mighty is going to be Kare's new nibante, and like that's just a done deal now because they're literally the ones who have star calendars coming out. If it was gonna be Hitoko and if it was gonna be Seochi, they would have been announced as being on those calendars. And
wait, Seo wasn't announced as nibante?
No, what? That's the big gossip.
Oh,
that's
I
the
missed
big
that.
thing.
What?
Chinatsu is there. Mighty is there, and Seochi is very obviously absent, and we're all like, what? Like,
and you think that they're pushing really hard for the 95th. What?
That exactly is what I thought, because Asa is also on the calendars now as definite Yukigumi nibante, and so it's like, it sort of did. It's funny that we were talking about Tom, because it almost seemed like they were lining it up for all
I was about to say that,
tops of every troop.
And they want to do that. They very obviously want to do that.
It sort of seemed like they were lining up to do that. And then, like...
But I'm really happy for Chinatsu, because it seemed like she'd missed her chance.
Well, the thing is that, like, it looks great on a resume, is, like, what their byline now with nibantes, I guess. Chinatsu's not going to become top. Like, she's going to be the placeholder nibante for Reiko for, like, half of Reiko's career, and then they're going to, like... Because that's exactly what happened with Mia.
Yep.
Like, and Tamakichi. It's just gonna happen again, and I can see it playing out.
I guess something's better than nothing, though.
Is it?
Here's my thing.
Yeah, I think so.
Here's my thing.
Yeah, go on.
Hold on.
Okay.
So, everybody acts like being top star is... And I understand that that is the goal of many young ladies going into Takarazuka. But it's mentally exhausting, it's monetarily exhausting, like all the infighting and backbiting and like fundraising and getting sponsorships and all that nastiness, like, and let's be honest, the top star roles tend to be pretty boring.
Yes.
Like,
Nibante roles are way more interesting than teams a lot of the time.
Like,
I'm with you.
I would understand how some of them might be like, you know what? I got to be Nibante for 2 or 3 years. That was awesome. I don't want to deal with all the BS of being a top star. I'm out of here.
As a stage performer, I am with you. You're 100% right. However, while Chinatsu and Mighty are playing Nibante, no one else is getting the experience of being Nibante. So that is the problem. You have to be training the next person to take over for Reiko, and if you've got someone, or Reiko or whoever, if you've got someone who's taking that spot, it means that the person below them is not getting the experience of being Nibante. And then, like, suddenly Akira retires and Mighty is just shoved into that spot.
Mm-hmm.
Or Mia retires and Reiko is just shoved into that spot. So, like, there's the problem. There's the issue that I have, is that, like, you can't have someone get the experience of being a Nibante to prepare them for being top star if you don't let them be Nibante. So, like, like, on the one hand, it's like, has it always been this way? Has it always been just, like, a freaking mess as far as, like, Otokoyaku? Yes, it has. Yes, I know. With Otokoyaku promotions, it's always been a freaking mess. Like, I literally watched it play out in front of my eyes where they, like, axed, not to just focus on Tsukigumi so much, but, like, they axed Ahi's career and Morie, and they moved the other 85ths out of Tsukigumi, like Meo and Mitsuru, and they just, like, axed all those people's careers and were like, Kirion and then Matsuki's the Nibante, and there's, like, 6 or 7 years between their classes. 7 years.
Yeah. But, I'm not gonna write Chinatsu off.
Okay.
Because I remember, like, back in 2010, she was fighting hard, like, to build up her fan base enough to progress. Like, she was handing out, like, little name cards to, like, fans and stuff. I've still got one that she handed out during Gypsy Baron. Like, and then she got transferred, so obviously they were thinking about giving her experience, and, and then she got transferred back. So I'm not gonna write her off yet.
Okay.
I think she's got potential.
Okay.
I get what you mean, though. She might be, like, one of those people who's not on the ladder that's going up, but the ladder that's going sideways.
The thing is that the precedent has now been set, not just, like, going back 10 years to Yumiko retiring and Kimu taking over. Yeah. It's literally played out twice in the past 3 years.
Yeah, true.
Or 4 times. Mia and Akira, and now Ai-chan, and then Chinatsu. And so it's like, what's really going to happen with Chinatsu? Probably not top star.
Yeah.
Sorry to be really negative.
And you know what? No. Like, there have been generations where the backlog has usually been, like, in the Sanbante area. Like, we had time where we had 1 million Sanbantes, and they never went anywhere, those poor things. You know? Or the people like Tatsuki Yo, or, like...
But that's the thing.
People who did really well in Shinkos, and they still got amazing roles in all the shows. Like, there's nothing wrong with being Sanbante.
There's nothing wrong with being Sanbante, but cool I thought that, like, Sanbante and below was the gray area, and that once you made Nibante, it meant something. And now the company's being like, it doesn't mean anything anymore. And that's what frustrates me.
Even, like, Asuka June in the 90s, like, she was Nibante for, like, 4 or 5 years, and she left,
Fair enough.
We got Ayabuki Mao. Like...
Yeah, but it felt at the time like Yumiko was a very special case. Like, it hadn't happened in a while. But, to be fair, before that had been the whole Shinsenka, like, throw all of the... Literally throw all of the star Otokuyaku in a blender and, like, mix them up and reassign them to different troops. But, like, when this announcement came out, I sort of wished that they would just do that again. I sort of wish they would honestly just, like, be serious about who they actually want to promote. Move everyone out if you really care so much. Move everyone out, shake them up in a blender, and reassign them, and assign them in a way that's setting them up for success so that the people who you want to be top star, you, the company, Hankyu, make sure that you're setting them up to be on the path to, like, get the experience, get the fan base, and get promoted into top star. So like this like shrug, nibante is just nice on a resume, it doesn't mean anything anymore, kind of sucks, I think.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. There's only so many top star spots, though. And the longer people stay as top star, you know, I feel like our top stars have been staying longer. Like, at one point, it was usually only 2 years or so, and now it seems like it's like 5 or 6 years for top stars. So, you know?
And honestly, I also think that there should be like a 3-year cap, sort of. Like, I know that the company's so obsessed with making money, and they're like, oh, we want to keep Mirio or we want to keep Makaze because they're making us a lot of money, but like, it messes things up for the people below them.
It does.
Yeah. Kate, what's your social Takarazuka circle say?
I'm actually pretty okay. Right, I'm just gonna throw one thing out. Like, everything about Mia, absolutely heartbreaking, but so my point is, Sweetheart from Baddie is too good that if Mia was not the...
I've thought about that so much.
Right, so, like, that's just Sweetheart from Baddie. I could not have, like, I do not want to live in an alternate universe where that does not exist. So...
I agree with you so hard. I thought about that so many times, that if Tamakichi hadn't, like, leapfrogged over Mia, and if they hadn't, like, cleared out Koma and Kacha, which I don't even know why they put those two in Tsukigami in the first place. That was, like, a weird move anyway. If they hadn't aligned things in that way, there wouldn't have been Baddie, and there wouldn't have been Sweetheart. I agree with you so hard.
I'm quite optimistic about, like, whatever shuffling they're doing. Not optimistic about Seo not being Nibante. Like, that's weird. But, you know.
Well, plus it comes right on the heels of Ai-chan's Taidon announcement, right? So it's like, literally, what are they doing?
You're clearing a space for someone, why is that person not Seo?
And it's just like a really glaring empty space, and you're like, what?
Like, who else
are we trying
to that?
So that's kind of why I say you should throw everyone in a blender and mix them around. Like, is there gonna be another transfer? Because it sure as hell seems like they need one. If they're not committing to Seo Yuria being Nibante, what the heck are they doing? What's gonna happen instead? Yeah, it's totally mind-blowing.
Mysteries for the future.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll all look back and say, it all makes sense looking at it 5 years in the past or whatever.
What did we miss? Oh, City Hunter. So I went through my manga phase, but this was not one that I got into. And looking at it now, I'm like, this is not a manga I would have read. It seems like it's very... I'm actually surprised because, like, reading the plot and stuff, I'm like, this is a boys' manga. And it seems like it's definitely, like, it's all about, like, a very misogynistic dude. Yeah. So I'm like, ew. But people seem excited about it. I don't know. What have you guys been hearing?
I'm gonna start. I kind of grew up watching... an anime that's done by the same, like, illustrator, Cat's Eyes. Do you guys know about Cat's Eyes? Anyway, it's this kind of, like, spy lady being kind of spicy anime, and I watched it as a kid. Don't know why I was allowed to watch that as a kid, because it was, like, a bit too spicy for my age. But, so when I see the art style of, it kind of feels a bit nostalgic.
It makes me very nostalgic. Yeah.
I have not seen... I've seen, like, the news clips and stuff. But, like, knowing Takarazuka is not going to be completely not misogynistic, but it's also not going to be that bad. So, it is a weird one to adapt, but it's not as weird as... What was the video game adaptation that they did? Anyway.
Phoenix Wright?
No, the other one. The other one that Tomu did.
The other one. Sengoku Basara?
Yeah, that one. Okay, that one was weird.
Okay.
This one...
I have not seen it, but I am interested in seeing it because Suzuki K also did Phoenix Wright, and I love Phoenix Wright.
Yeah, who doesn't?
He's such a nerd. He's such a video game nerd. He was like, I came to Takarazuka to make video game musicals, and Takarazuka said, you do you, but, you know, like, go for it.
But yeah, like, everyone looks amazing in their costumes, and
aesthetics, right?
Yeah,
sometimes you just watch it for the aesthetics.
I'm really happy that, like, I don't even know Kiwa that well, but I'm just really happy an older Musumeyaku got top, so I will just support them.
It definitely feels like, you know, sometimes they have this big brother, little sister dynamic.
Yeah.
And it seems like City Hunter is like the right kind of vehicle to be like, Kiwa is an adult freaking woman, and she's gonna call whatever the character's name is, Joe, she's gonna call him out when he's being a lecherous, gross guy.
Yeah.
And, like, you could just, like, not have the lecherous, groping stuff in the first place. You could just choose to do that.
Right?
But, like,
I would choose to leave that
I would
out.
just choose to not do that. But if you're gonna do it, at least have a, like, Musumeyaku with a huge hammer bonking him on the head.
Literally.
Go for it. Like, all right. Yeah, so I watched the first day footage. It looks like, you know, just silly
fun, right?
Like a Mew, like an anime musical fun silliness.
Yeah.
It makes my little nerdy heart happy whenever they do an anime musical. So.
Oh boy, I still remember freaking Mei-chan's butler.
Don't get me started on that one. Oh no. That was a whole thing.
That was just a massive yikes for her, because
that was a huge
I remember
yikes.
halfway through watching this, I was like, oh, this plot is whack. Like, Takarazuka, what did you do to the original manga?
Honestly?
Read the original manga, and I was like, oh, okay.
Mei-chan's butler is, like, way more, like, a bad example to young people than, like, a guy who, like, hits on people inappropriately sometimes. Because the entire thing about Mei-chan's butler is, like, here's this guy who's, like, totally devoted to you, but you shouldn't fall in love with him. It's forbidden, which, of course, makes everyone want to do it. And they're teenage freaking girls. They're teenage freaking girls falling in love with adult freaking... It's gross. The whole thing is gross, and it's, like, weird concept. And, like, when I watch the TV drama...
It's pretty dark, too,
It's kind of dark, too. When I watch the TV drama, the TV drama was being done very tongue-in-cheek, like, we know how stupid and weird this is. Mm-hmm. And Takarazuka, like, tried to take it seriously and make it a romance, and I was like, no.
And let's be honest, Benny was really not the right person to play that.
Well, right, because she was supposed to be the straight man and Mia was supposed to be the funny man. And I was like, the two, you're going to choose Benny to be the straight man? Like, why would you ever choose Benny to be the straight man? That's just a bad choice for you. Benny should always be the funny one. Right? It's very silly.
Oh, I miss Benny. Anyway.
Side note about Benny, seeing pictures of her in Anything Goes is amazing.
Oh boy, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes.
She looks gorgeous in, like, literally everything.
I'll see if I can grab you some links that you can put up, Jen.
Yeah, that sounds good. Speaking of Broadway musicals...
good segue!
Yeah, Takarazuka's got a new one coming up that they've never done before, which I had never heard of before. Promises, Promises.
It's a Neil Simon show. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, so everyone's worried that we might not get the rights and might not ever see it. But I will not dwell on negativity when it comes to Promises, because we got nice work. We got a stream, we got a Blu-ray, we got it all. So come through, Hankyu. Give us Promises. Don't deny us. Don't deny us another Broadway show that we don't get to see Kiki in.
Cries in Yukigumi.
What is their obsession with Neil Simon?
I don't know, dude.
I feel like they've been going through his whole over.
I thought it was just Tom who liked Neil Simon, but this is not Tom, so.
No. Yeah, because they did, what was it, Chapter 2, they did...
Odd Couple.
Odd Couple.
I don't know if It's All in the Family, that Tom show with Soragumi, if that one was Neil Simon, but it's also kind of like that era of, like, silly farce shows.
Yeah.
Sorry, completely unrelated, but just on the topic of not getting rights to... I will forever be salty about... bitter even, actually. Extremely bitter about Yukigumi not getting the rights to on the 20th century.
I'm definitely bummed about that.
That was the only comedy that Daikyo managed to get. The only one that neither of them died at the end. Oh, oops, spoilers. I'm sorry. But it was the only happy thing that they've ever played, and it looked amazing. And
it's like the Yukigumi curse, because Kimu also did How to Succeed and Footloose, and neither of them have public recordings available, so it's just like a curse now. Yeah, I don't spend too much time dwelling on the 20th century, because, like, it will just make me sad. I spent more of my energy being sad about On the Town, because it was literally my dream and I never got to see it because it was before they did live streams. So, like, like,
and they even did it twice.
they did it twice, and I didn't get to see it either time. It was like, that was like one of those, this is the perfect show. I want Zuka to do more Gene Kelly. Like, it was like everything for me, and I didn't ever got to see it. So mad. So mad forever.
I'm sorry. I
Come
feel the
through,
pain.
Hankyu. So, promises. I have in fact listened to the new Broadway cast that was like a 2010 revival, at least twice through. It has Kristen Chenoweth in it. It's fun. It's like a fun little sex comedy. You know, like a guy who has like a lower position at a company gets like promotions or raises or something by allowing upper management people to like use his flat, his apartment as like a love nest. That is the setup. That is the setup of the show.
I was not expecting that.
So spicy. The music is pretty dated, in my opinion. So I don't know if Zuka is gonna like lean into that or like update the orchestrations at all. I was like, at first I was like, this really just jangles on my ears and I don't like it. And I don't know, maybe I'm just like in a rosy mood because Kiki and Minari is the lead Musumiyaku, and Mayupon's gonna be in it, and Sora's gonna be in it, and I'm just thinking about it through rose-colored glasses now, and I'm like excited again. So yeah, because the cast split was announced recently for who's going to be in which show. So I'm excited again. I'm going to choose to have faith. I'm going to choose to believe that we're going to get a stream. It's all going to be good.
Before we go any further, we are running long.
We should wrap it up.
So we should wrap it up. So I'm going to start with Kate. Anything we didn't touch on that you're like, we definitely need to talk about this news thing happening, anything like that?
Let's think. Not really. Well, this is just me being a massive Daikyo fan, but so Kiho got the female lead in Don Juan, but like I think the Toho version of Don Juan, is it Toho? I can't remember, but it's just very funny.
I didn't hear about this.
Don't know whether
That's awesome.
anyone knows about that.
Good for her.
No,
and Daimon's been
her,
doing
girl.
stuff with Ramen Karamlu, her new freaking boyfriend. I say that in a very immature, ooh, we like each other kind of way, not in the serious way. Because he was supposed to appear with her in her concert, you know, and then they didn't get to do that.
Because
of COVID. So they got to do some, I don't know what, were they just hanging out? Like, I just sort of heard through the grapevine that he tagged her on Instagram.
Oh, he was in the actual her concert. Like,
you're right.
Yeah, and they sung
post-Taidon concert.
Yeah, and apparently like they got along well, which is like great, and they sang so many stuff, including stuff from Chess, and I love Chess, and Chess. My god. Takarazuka's never going to do Chess, but I will just
underrated musical.
Hold out my hope forever. Oh my god, Chess is
just side note on Chess, Kiho Kanata of Soragumi did the Arbiter from Chess in the Bao Singing Workshop 2016, and I love her forever for choosing that song because it's so obscure.
Amazing.
And like, what a musical nerd, what a good kid for liking that show. That makes me cry.
You know, that's what I missed.
Yeah.
They haven't done Bao workshops in a while, haven't
Well, it's been about 5 years, so it's about time.
They're
about due.
More Bao workshops.
So let's say it kind of maybe got pushed back due to COVID, so maybe next year we'll have some Bao workshops.
Yeah. Julie, what have we?
We missed the other transfer announcements. Uta Chizuru going to Star Troop, Irodori Michiru going to Moon Troop, and Sora going to Snow Troop. That we didn't touch on. I'm very intrigued by what that all means. And like I said, that was announced like 2-something weeks ago, and then the calendar announcement came out, and it's like, well, if you aren't going to commit to a nibante in Hoshigumi, why didn't they transfer Sora to Hoshigumi? Like, I'm kind of scratching my head, like, I really don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I feel like we're going to get some more shocking announcements, because it's not all making sense to me yet.
And especially with Michiru going to Moon, that I am looking out for that, because
I wonder like if it's sort of like they need a nibante musumeaku and there's like young kids coming up the ladder in Moon, but like no one to fill that like nice nibante musumeaku spot, and like nibante musumeaku is a fake title anyway.
It really is.
There are lots of times when there is no nibante musumeaku. It's very clear that they're not committing to anyone, and sometimes that's just the way it is. But I sort of had like a thought to myself of like, maybe we'll see a return to adult top musumeaku and sort of like more mature nibante musumeaku to kind of elevate. We can dream. I know, I'm just like being so unrealistic about this whole thing. But that was kind of like my thought process of like, maybe that's why they're doing this. And to add credence to that, Nonoka Himari, who I think is 99th class, so she's very out of Shinko's, got the lead for Man Who's Magic. And Amairo Mineri, who's also graduated from Shinko's, got the lead in Promises, where I fully thought, oh, it might be this 104th baby that I like or whatever. So I'm I don't know, I'm a little bit optimistic that like maybe we are giving non-Shinko age musumeaku leads again. Like, that's very cool.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I guess the only thought I have, just thinking about this year, is there were a lot of Nihon Mono. Yeah. Like, a lot more than we usually get, and that's made me really happy. And it was like a nice mix of like more traditional Nihon Mono and then like more like rock type Nihon Mono. Oh yeah,
Genroku Baroque Roku is coming. I'm so excited for that too. Sorry if I bonked
and then we got Yagyu Ninja Scrolls, Kawagiri Bridge.
I feel like Ninja Scrolls is probably going to be very anime like aesthetics, and then Genroku is like, if y'all have seen other shows by this director, he loves like mixing up Japanese history and doing like sci-fi reinventions of Japanese history or history in general, because he also did I Love Einstein, where it's like a weird time travel Einstein thing where he makes a robot girlfriend, and he also did
Cosmos Troop, like the city of what's it called? Never mind, sorry.
Oh, Shangri-La. I don't think he did Shangri-La. That was
it sounds exactly like the
Koyanagi Naoko. It sounds exactly like the kind of thing he would do, but it's not. I think that was Koyanagi Sensei. But he also did Shinatsu's thing recently, the little microcosmic war of Dejima, which was honestly like silly but really fun. And like, I just feel like it's a niche of rewriting steampunk Japanese history, fantasy, sci-fi Japanese history. I'm into it. Like, what a fun, cool, like, concept to explore in Takarazuka, where we don't get to see that very often. So I'm very excited.
Yeah. It's cool. I'm excited for this year. Someday I'll get caught up on the shows I've been missing out on. Listeners, if we missed anything, or if you have any additional comments, please share with us. We love to hear your feedback and hear what you're thinking about the last half a year and all the craziness and everything that we're looking forward to for the rest of this year. Hopefully we'll start recording a little more frequently, but I think probably not.
We'll do our best.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the other side.
Bye.
Bye. Many thanks to Michael B. and the Arcanum String Quartet for their wonderful arrangement of Sumire no Hana Sakugoro. And thank you, listeners, for enjoying our podcast.